Book 1, The World of Jesus. Chapter 1, Bethlehem, Judea, March 5 BC, morning. The child with 36 years to live is being hunted. Heavily armed soldiers from the capital city of Jerusalem are marching to this small town, intent on finding and killing the baby boy. They are a mixed-race group of foreign mercenaries from Greece, Gaul, and Syria. The child's name, unknown to them, is Jesus, and his only crime is that some believe he will be the next king of the Jewish people. The current monarch, a dying half-Jewish, half-Arab despot named Herod, is so intent on ensuring the baby's death that his army has been ordered to murder every male child under the age of 2 years in Bethlehem. None of the soldiers knows what the child's mother and father look like, or the precise location of his home. Thus, they need to kill every baby boy in the small town and surrounding area. This alone will guarantee the extermination of the potential king. It is springtime in Judea, the peak of the lambing season. The rolling dirt road takes the army past thick groves of olive trees and shepherds tending their flocks. The soldiers' feet are clad in sandals, their legs are bare, and they wear the skirt-like terugis to cover their loins. The young men sweat freely beneath the plates of armor on their chests and the tin bronze Attic helmets that cover the top of their heads and the side of their faces. The soldiers are well aware of Herod's notorious cruelty and his penchant for killing anyone who would try to threaten his throne. But there is no moral debate about the right and wrong of slaughtering infants, nor do the soldiers question whether they will have the nerve to rip a screaming child from his mother's arms and carry out the execution. When the time comes, they will follow orders and do their jobs, or risk being immediately killed for insubordination. The sword's blade is how they plan to dispatch the babies. Each soldier is armed with the Judean version of the razor-sharp pugio and gladius preferred by the Roman legions, and wear their weapons attached to the waist. Their method of murder, however, will not be restricted to the dagger or sword. Should they wish, Herod's soldiers can also use a skull-crushing stone, hurl the baby boys off a cliff en masse, or just wrap their fists around the infant's windpipes and strangle them. The cause of death is not important. What matters most is one simple fact: King of the Jews or not, the infant must die. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, King Herod gazes out a palace window toward Bethlehem, anxiously awaiting confirmation of the slaughter. In the cobbled streets below him, the Roman-appointed king sees the crowded bazaars where vendors sell everything from water and dates to tourist trinkets and roast lamb. The walled city of 80,000 residents, packed into less than a single square mile, is the crossroads of the eastern Mediterranean. With one sweep of his eyes, Herod can see visiting Galilean peasants, brightly dressed Syrian women, and the foreign soldiers he pays to wage his battles. These men fight extremely well, but are not Jews, and don't speak a word of the Hebrew language. Herod sighs. Back in his youth, he would never have stood in a window and worried about the future. A great king and warrior such as he would have ordered that a bridle be thrown over his favorite white charger so that he might gallop to Bethlehem and murder the child himself. But Herod is now a man of 69. His massive girth and incessant medical problems make it physically impossible for him to leave his palace, let alone mount a horse. His bloated face is wreathed in a beard that extends from the bottom of his chin to just below his Adam's apple. On this day, he wears a royal purple Roman-style mantle over his short-sleeved white silk tunic. Normally, Herod prefers soft leather leggings that have been stained purple. But today, even the gentlest bristle of fabric against his inflamed big toe is enough to make him cry out in pain. So it is that Herod, the most powerful man in Judea, hobbles through the palace barefoot. But gout is the least of Herod's ailments. The king of the Jews, as this non-practicing convert to the religion likes to be known, is also suffering from lung disease, kidney problems, worms, a heart condition, sexually transmitted diseases, and a horrible version of gangrene that has caused his genitals to rot, turn black, and become infested with maggots, thus the inability to sit astride, let alone ride, a horse. Herod has learned how to live with his aches and pains, but these warnings about a new king in Bethlehem are scaring him. Since the Romans first installed him as the ruler of Judea more than 30 years ago, Herod has foiled countless plots and waged many wars to remain king. He has murdered anyone who would try to steal his throne and even executed those only suspected of plotting against him. His power over the locals is absolute. No one in Judea is safe from Herod's executions. He has ordered deaths by hanging, stoning, strangulation, fire, the sword, live animals, serpents, beating, and a type of public suicide in which victims are forced to hurl themselves off tall buildings. The lone form of execution in which he has not engaged is crucifixion, that most slow and humiliating of deaths, where a man is flogged and then nailed naked onto a wooden cross in plain sight of the city walls. The Romans are the masters of this brutal art, and they exclusively practice it. Herod would not dream of enraging his superiors in Rome by appropriating their favorite form of murder. Herod has 10 wives, or had, before he executed the fiery Miriam for allegedly plotting against him. For good measure, he also ordered the deaths of her mother and of his sons Alexander and Aristobulus. Within a year, he will murder a third male offspring. Small wonder that the great Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus was rumored to have openly commented, "It is better to be Herod's pig than to be his son." But this newest threat, though it comes from a mere infant, is the most dangerous of all. For centuries, Jewish prophets have predicted the coming of a new king to rule their people. They have prophesied 5 specific occurrences that will take place to confirm the new Messiah's birth. The first is that a great star will rise in the east. The second is that the baby will be born in Bethlehem, the small town where the great King David was born 1,000 years before. The third prophecy is that the child must also be a direct descendant of David, a fact that can be easily proven by the temple's meticulous genealogical records. Fourth, powerful men will travel from afar to worship him. Finally, the child's mother must be a virgin. What troubles Herod most deeply is that he knows the first of the two to be true. He might even be more distressed to learn that all 5 have come to pass. The child is from the line of David, powerful men have traveled from afar to worship him, and his teenage mother Mary swears that she is still a virgin despite her pregnancy. He also does not know that the child's name is Yeshua ben Joseph, or Jesus, meaning the Lord is salvation.